Most people don't realize what they're throwing away until it's already gone. My name is Elizabeth. I'm 102 years old, and I've watched generation after generation make the same quiet mistakes. Mistakes that don't look like mistakes until you're standing on the other side of them, looking back. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm just an old woman sitting in her chair, remembering things, and wondering if anyone younger than me might save themselves some grief if I said what I've spent a lifetime learning. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to talk to you the way I wish someone had talked to me before I turned 50, before certain doors closed, before certain people were gone. Because when you're my age, you don't think about what you did. You think about what you didn't do. You think about the mornings you rushed through. You think about the conversations you cut short. And you think about all the ordinary days you were waiting to be over, not knowing they were the very days your life was being made of. I was born in 1922 in a small town in rural Virginia. My father was a farmer, my mother was a seamstress, and the world I grew up in was nothing like the one you live in now. There was no rushing in those days, not because life was easier, it wasn't, but because there was nowhere to rush to. You did what was in front of you, and then you did the next thing, and somehow a life got built out of all those quiet acts of just showing up. I met John when I was 19. He was 22, a little too serious for his own good, with big hands and a slow way of talking that made you feel like whatever you said was worth listening to. We married in the spring of 1942, 2 weeks before he was sent overseas. I remember standing at the train station watching him go, thinking that I had no idea what kind of woman I would be by the time he came back, or if he would come back at all. He did come back. But he was different, and I was different, and we spent the first years of our marriage learning each other all over again. That was hard. I won't pretend it wasn't. There were nights I felt more alone inside that marriage than I ever had as a single woman. And I think now, looking back, one of the biggest mistakes I almost made was giving up on that difficulty instead of walking through it. Because difficulty is not a sign that something is wrong. That's one of the things I'd tell you before you turn 50. The hard seasons of a relationship, a career, a life, those are not signs that you've taken the wrong road. They're often signs that you're deep enough into something real to feel its weight. Young people today seem so quick to leave when things get heavy, but wait is not the same as wrong. Wait is often just what love and commitment feel like when they're being tested. John and I were married for 61 years before he passed. We argued. We disappointed each other. We went through seasons of distance and seasons of closeness. But I never once stopped feeling that he was my person, and I believe to my bones that the reason we lasted was not because we were lucky or especially compatible. It was because we both made a decision, quietly and without fanfare, to keep choosing each other even when it wasn't easy. Here is another thing I would tell you. Stop living so much inside your own head and so little inside your actual life. I see it everywhere now. People staring into their phones, people only half present in conversations, people nodding along while their minds are somewhere else entirely. I understand there is more noise in the world than there used to be, but you are giving away something precious every time you let your attention drift to things that don't matter. And you may not realize until it's too late how much of your real life happened in the moments you were only half there for. I remember John trying to tell me something once, something about a bird he'd seen in the yard, some story about the way the morning light was hitting the garden, and I was distracted. I was thinking about something on the stove or an errand I needed to run, and I gave him a half answer, a murmur, something non-committal. He got quiet after that the way he always did when he felt he wasn't being heard, and that moment has stayed with me for decades. Not because it was dramatic, there was nothing dramatic about it, but because there were hundreds of moments just like it that I can't get back. Hundreds of times John tried to share something small and true with me, and I was somewhere else. Don't be somewhere else. Whatever it costs you in distraction or productivity or the constant motion of modern life, The price you pay for presence is nothing compared to the price you'll pay for absence. That's what I'd tell you. I'd also tell you to stop being so afraid of what people think of you, because you will reach an age where you can barely remember half the people whose opinions you sacrificed yourself for, and you will wonder why on earth you let them have so much power over your choices. I spent too many years being the version of Elizabeth that other people expected to see. I dressed a certain way for certain people. I kept quiet in rooms where I had things worth saying. I dimmed myself in ways I didn't even notice until I was in my 60s, and my children were grown, and there was suddenly space in my life to ask who I actually was underneath all that careful performance. It took me longer than it should have to understand that being liked and being known are not the same thing. Being liked just means you've figured out what people want from you and given it to them. Being known means someone has seen you, the real, unpolished, complicated you, and chosen to stay. That second thing is what's worth having, and you can't have it if you never take the risk of being fully, honestly yourself. One of my daughters used to say that I had finally become fearless in my old age, but that's not quite right. I haven't become fearless. I've just stopped believing that the fear is worth obeying. When you're 102 years old, you understand in your body and not just your mind that time is the only truly non-renewable thing. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose a job and find another. You can move, you can change, you can start again in more ways than people realize. But you cannot get back a single morning you spent anxious about something that never happened, a single evening you wasted being bitter about something that no longer matters. I want to tell you something about regret because I think it is misunderstood. People think regret is about the big things, the marriages that failed, the opportunities that were missed, the paths not taken. And yes, those things carry weight. But in my experience, the deepest regrets are smaller than that. They're about the phone calls you didn't make, the words you almost said, the times you were too proud to apologize or too busy to sit down, the afternoon you walked right past someone who needed you because you had somewhere to be. Take the slower road more often. Eat the meal without looking at your phone. Tell people what they mean to you while they're still here to hear it. That sounds simple because it is simple, but simple things have a way of being the hardest to actually do. John died on a Tuesday morning in October. It was a quiet death, peaceful in the way that long lives can sometimes end, and I was holding his hand when he went. We had said everything we needed to say in the weeks before, not in big declarations, just in the ordinary way of two people who have learned to be honest with each other. And when he was gone, I felt grief, deep and heavy grief, but I did not feel the kind of regret that eats at you. I felt like we had done our best, both of us, with what we had. That is what I want for you. Not a perfect life, not a life without pain or mistake or loss, just a life that you can sit inside of at the end and feel like you were actually there for it. You have more time than I do. Use it like it matters. Love people like they're leaving. Be present like the moment in front of you is the only one you're ever going to get, because someday it will be. My name is Elizabeth. I am 102 years old, and I have never once in all my long years wished I had spent more time being busy.